Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to SET Digital Roadshow for PTG Energy Public Company Limited and presenting the performance of the first quarter of 2025. Before I'd like to dive into today's presentation, I would like to introduce our management and key speakers today. Sitting next to me is Khun Paramit Sangwanchokwanit, Chief Strategy and Transformation Officer.
สวัสดีครับ Good afternoon.
And sitting in front of me is Khun Pichaya Kongsiritchuang, Investor Relations.
สวัสดีค่ะ
And I'm Nopasonwang, Investor Relations. For today's agenda, I will walk you through on the snapshots and highlights, followed by the key performance, which there will be oil and non-oil. I will give you the overview of non-oil, and then Khun Pichaya will walk you through on Thai and Autobags part, followed by financial statements, ESG development, and summary and outlook. So starting with the PTG at a glance of the first quarter of this year, currently our PT oil station has been operated up to 2,237 stations across nation. And right now we have captured more market share up to 22.1% in terms of oil retail market share, even though there is a decline in terms of the sales volume by 2% year over year to 1,667 million liters. In terms of the non-oil business touch points, right now we have a 2,425 touch points, which majority contributed from Thai coffee, which we have expanded up to 1,476 branches. And the last one is the membership card that we have our PT Max card member of over 25 million members, which equivalent to 1/3 of the total Thai populations. In terms of the financial snapshot on the pie chart at the bottom left-hand side, you can see that right now we have record our revenue up to 57,407 million baht, an increase of 4.4% year over year, and a slight decline compared to the previous quarter by 2.2%. If you look in terms of the revenue growth compared to the same period last year, was majority from the increase in non-oil business revenue. And right now, our non-oil business revenue has accounted up to 9.3%. In terms of the gross profit, I would like to highlight more on the contribution in terms of non-oil business. Right now, we have up to 33% contribution of gross profit in non-oil business, which in line with the company guidance, which target to stood at 30 to 35% by this year. And which we will give you more details in terms of that. And in terms of EBITDA in this quarter stood at 1,507 million baht and net profit stood at 186 million baht. Let's take a look on the key business highlights of this quarter. As I mentioned earlier that we have attained more market share up to 22.1%. Despite the market drop of 3.6% in terms of because of the market contraction, but our sales volume declined lower than the decline of the market volume, which stood at a decrease of 2% year over year. And in terms of our LPG business, right now we have progressed towards the IPO for Atlas, which is our subsidiaries that operates the LPG business and have currently the SEC has officially accepted its filing, so paving the way for potential IPOs and set in the second half of this year. In terms of Thai coffee, our Thai coffee business has increased its business expansions significantly, and in the first quarter we closed at 1,476 branches. In comparison to the same period last year, we have increased up to 55.9% year on year, or equivalent to an increase of 1.5 branches per day. Moreover, our Pantai coffee also recently ranked by the Brand Age, which is the third party of ranking the brand, and we have ranked for the third for the most trusted modern coffee shop, which reinforcing our brand's growing popularity. And in terms of the bottom left hand side, you can see that our MaxMe application has further enhanced with the Thai QR payment, and Subway also integrated into these applications as well, where our customers can pre-ordering through the applications and also can picking up the sandwich in the branches right after ordering the app. And also these application enhancements also help in terms of providing a customer with exclusive rewards and a seamless digital payment experience. In terms of the strategic investment and the last pictures at the right hand side, our Thai payroll equipment, which engaging in the waste management business, we have currently increased more stakes. From 10% last year, we have increased up to 31.56% stakes by early this year. These investments align with the strategic focus on sustainable business growth and diversification. For key performance, I will start with our oil business. In terms of our oil stations, right now we have increased up to 2,237 stations, which can be categorized into oil cocoa, which is the company-owned, company-operated, of 1,869 stations, followed by dealer-owned, dealer-operated of 368 stations. In terms of the regional distribution, you might see that the northeastern part contributed largest contribution of 31%, and in comparison to the same period last year, it also increased by 13 stations. Followed by northern part that we have second largest contribution of 21%. And if you look on the bottom, on the top right corner, you can see that our northern part has increased up to 10 stations, followed by southern part of 11%, western part of 11% respectively. In terms of the Thailand's consumption, in this slide, you can see that there is a decline in terms of both oil, all channel consumption and retail consumption. In terms of the all channel consumption, you can see that the total consumption stood at 8,969 milliliters, a decline of 1.2% Q over Q and a decline of 2.2% year over year. The majority decline was driven from the retail consumption. The retail consumption was decreased by 3.1% Q over Q and 3.6% year over year to 7,108 milliliters. This is due to the softened demand as a certain industry sectors remain sluggish, particularly transportation and automotive sectors. However, if you look in terms of the company sales volume, I would like to highlight more on the retail distribution. The retail was slightly declined by 2% year over year, which lower than the market decline. However, if you look in terms of the overall distribution, you can see that we are we have a slight decline by 3.1% year over year to 1,667 milliliters. And this was mostly from a decline in same-store sales of 5.1% year over year, but partially offset by the oil station expansion up to 1.7, which increased by 1.7% year over year. As a result, we still increase in terms of our retail market share from comparison to the same period last year that we have 21.8%, and comparison to the previous quarter that was stood at 21.9%. In this quarter, we increased up to 22.1%. Next is the non-oil business overview. The non-oil business overview, our touch points stood at 2,425, which increased in comparison to previous quarter by 156 touch points and increased from the same period last year by 804 touch points. This was mostly from the Pantai expansion. In terms of the revenue stood at 5,340 million baht. This was slight decline by 2.3% Q over Q, but increased by 32.2% year over year. I would like to highlight a decline in comparison to the previous quarter. You can see that we have recorded the revenue recognition from according to the accounting standard of TFRIC 12, where we have to record the revenue based on progress of construction of our waste to energy power plant project from PP5. We have recorded since previous quarter by 558 million baht, and in this quarter of 140 million baht, which these revenue will have to be recorded alongside with its associated costs. Therefore, there is no gross profit in terms of the consolidated financial statements, and also this is not an operating revenue. Therefore, if we excluded this revenue from the PP5 project, there is an increase in terms of the non-oil revenue, which grew by 5.9% Q over Q and grew by same period last year by 28.7% year on year to 5,200 million baht. In terms of the gross profit, you can see that the gross profit in this quarter also increased by 32% Q on Q and 55.1% year on year to 1,329 million baht. I would like to highlight more on the margin. The margin also improved from the previous quarter due to 25.6%, which mainly from our auto bags that has gained more margin, as last year there is a certain rebate to the customers, therefore there is a lower margin in comparison to this quarter. And if you look in terms of the contribution, we also increased our contribution from 26.4% in fourth quarter last year and 24.2% from same period last year up to 33%, which is in line with our company guidance. And in terms of the non-oil business touch points, within our number of 2,425 touch points, largely from Pantai that we have at almost 1,500 branches, followed by the Maxmart convenience store of 376 branches. Autobags which is the automotive maintenance and service center, we have at 123 branches, and Subway right now stood at 71 branches. And Coffee Road of 23 branches, and Elex PT, which is the EV charging station, we have at 200 stations, and lubricant change of 48 touch points, and the Max Camp, which is the rest area, we have at 108 touch points. Next is Pantai for PTG.
For Pantai Coffee business in first quarter 2025, we expand over 529 Pantai coffee shop or 1.5 branches per day over a year and 9.6% Q over Q to 1,476 branches. Almost half of them were open outside PT stations in high potential areas, with thoughtfully designed to match the lifestyle and preference of local customer. If you can see the left-hand side picture, we made them more inviting and accessible. Apart from the store expansions, Pantai also continue launch new Thai-inspired menu like the latest campaign of Khanom Krok Yok Law campaign, a coconut-based dessert with taste guaranteed by popular local vendors on the left-hand side. And we have seen a great response from PT MacCard and PT MacCard Plus members with the same store sales growth over 40% year over year. which drove the total revenue to 959 million baht, marking a double year-over-year increase and 32.2% Q-over-Q growth. For gross profit also doubled to 523 million baht. Next, for oil bags, we expanded for 14 new touch point year-over-year or 5.1% Q-over-Q. And just like Pantai, majority of these stores are outside PT station to serve the wider range of customers, especially in main district and residential areas. With these expansions and support from the government-backed Easy Receive campaign, which encouraged spending through tax deductions, Oil Bag achieved 309 million baht in revenue, which rose by 30.8% year-over-year and 8.5% Q-over-Q. Gross profit tripled Q-over-Q to 67 million baht, supported by strong sales and higher rebates that come with it. And let's take a look with a broader picture. For the financial statement in first quarter of this year, the company recorded 57.4 billion baht in total revenue, with an increase of 4.4% year-over-year, but dropped by 2.2% Q-over-Q. The revenue growth from the same period last year was mostly from the continued growth of non-oil business, as Kunapasan mentioned before. And on the other hand, for the Q-over-Q contractions was affected by the oil business revenue of 53 billion baht, or almost 91% of total revenue, representing an increase of 2.2% year-over-year, but a decrease of 2.2% Q-over-Q due to a decline in oil sales volume. However, the company gross profit in first quarter of this year growing by 30.6% year-over-year and 5.7% Q-over-Q to 4,000 million baht, with a third of them driven by non-oil gross profit rose by 55.1% year-over-year and 32% Q-over-Q to 1,329 million baht. The gross profit for the oil business was 2,696 million baht, up 0.4% year-over-year, but down 3.8% Q-over-Q. The year-on-year increase was mainly driven by higher gross profit per liter, following with the government adjustment of the retail price ceiling, despite a decline in sales volume. The Q-over-Q decrease was due to the lower oil sales through PT stations and a drop in gross profit per liter, impacted by a misalignment between extraordinary price adjustment and oil fund management during the quarter. For EBITDA in first quarter of this year was amount to 1,507 million baht, comparable to the same period last year, but a 6% Q-over-Q decline. Also, the net profit decreased by 29.6% year-over-year and 21.4% Q-over-Q to 186 million baht. The change of net profit decline from the same period last year was from the higher SG&A expense from the expansions of non-oil business, with an increase of financial costs, which largely from the lease liability under TFRS 16 and additional borrowings. However, these were partially offset by a lower effective tax rate and a 30.3 million baht increase in share profit, driven by reduced loss of triple PTG or palm complex business that improved their operational efficiency. And together with the full quarter profit recognitions from Paisan and Thai Paiboon, which following our equity stake increased to 31.56% in earlier of this quarter. As for the Q-over-Q decline in net profit, which mainly driven by the higher SG&A and lower contributions from triple PTG, which impacted by government controlling price and fluctuated CPO price, which driven by the lower fresh palm fruit yields during the dry season. Moreover, the lower profit from Amamarine affected by falling freight rates. But again, our strategic investment in Paisan and Thai Paiboon helped to soften downside. For the financial position, at the end of first quarter of this year, the company had total assets of 53.4 billion baht, marking an increase of 1.6 billion baht from the end of last year, which from the continued branch expansions in both oil and non-oil business, which increasing PPE by 819 million baht. Cash on hand rose by 593 million baht, and intangible assets up by 320 million baht, which mainly from the service concession right under 3/12 for our waste-to-energy plants. However, these increases were partially offset by a decrease in inventory by 940 million baht from stock management aligned with the company oil sales volume. For the right-hand side, you'll see the company liabilities stood at 44 billion baht, representing an increase of 1.4 billion baht increase from the end of last year, which mostly contribute to a rise of 631 in short-term loans and loans due within 1 year. This driven by an increase of 681 million baht in short-term promissory notes maturing within 1 year, followed by an increase of 637 million baht in short-term loans, but partially offset by 700 million baht decrease in bond maturing within 1 year due to the majority of the debenture. Additionally, it also contributed to an increase of 226 million baht in long-term loans and long-term debentures. And lease liability increased by 188 million baht in line with the branch expansions, resulting the company shareholders' equity amount to 9.5 billion baht, marking an increase of 2.1% from the end of last year. Let's move on to the key financial ratio. On the top left box, there are a slight decline in annualized ROA and ROE from the lower profitability, but a rise in leverage ratio of DE as an investment and business expansion plan. In terms of operating cycle, the cash cycle become more negative due to the efficient working capital management. For the cash flow bottom right box, there is a positive net cash flow from the increased cash from operations and loans from financial institutions during the period. For the ESG development, the company remains committed to creating a positive impact through community-focused initiatives, including flood relief efforts and program for senior employment. Partnership, we have partnered with the Department of Skill Development to enhance workforce capability and train talent for affiliate business like Autobacks, which continue to grow and require skilled technicians. On the environment side, we install solar rooftop at our service stations, which helping reduce electricity usage equivalent to planting over 72,000 trees. Next, let's briefly go through our target for this year. Starting with the oil business, we have reached 2,237 stations, posting the target of 2,279. We have expanded non-oil touch point to 2,425 touch points, mainly driven by Pantai Coffee, which reached 1,947 branches. Right on track with our target. On the right-hand side, you will see that non-oil sales exclude LPG business grew by 55.7% year-over-year, which well above our target of 40 to 50%. For non-oil gross profit contribution now stood at 33%, which in line our target range of 30 to 35%. For other performance metrics that are still below target, we still maintain our target, but we will keep monitor the macroeconomic condition closely and might be adjusting our strategy as needs to stay resilient. Besides that, we have set CapEx for this year to be in the range of 3 to 4 billion baht, that located 1 to 1.5 billion baht, primarily for renovating existing oil stations and completing them with non-oil business. For Pantai Coffee, we'll see an investment of 1 to 1.5 billion baht to support branch expansions. An additional 500 to 1,000 million baht has been set aside to strengthen the non-oil business. Lastly, we are allocating 1 to 1.5 billion baht to pursue new business opportunities for the future growth. And that will include the presentation